Welcome in, everybody. Today we're diving into something pretty different. The Baha'i vision of leadership and governance.
Definitely unique.
Yeah, we've got some excerpts from a text that kind of lays out the principles and concepts, and
Cool.
I gotta say, it's a pretty fascinating departure from what we usually see in politics.
It really is. It challenges a lot of our assumptions about power and how things should be run.
Yeah, so for someone who maybe hasn't encountered the Baha'i Faith before, what's that core idea that makes it so distinct?
Well, at the heart of it, the Baha'i vision redefines what leadership actually is. They see it as service.
Okay.
It's about being a trustee of society, putting the needs of everyone above your own personal gain.
Trustees of society. That's a powerful image.
Isn't it?
What would that look like practically?
Okay, so picture this. Leaders who truly see their role as a sacred duty to serve.
Right.
Their decisions, their actions, everything they do, it's all guided by this deep sense of responsibility for the community as a whole.
That's a pretty stark contrast to the kind of power-hungry politics we often see, right? Where it's all about self-interest.
Yeah, definitely. It's a different approach.
Sounds almost idealistic, you know?
It challenges the norms, for
Yeah.
sure. But in the Baha'i teachings, this isn't just some utopian dream. It's a practical framework for building a society that's fair and just for everyone.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So how does this idea of leadership as service actually play out in a system of government?
So one of the big differences is the Baha'i emphasis on leadership through institutions rather than individuals.
Okay.
So instead of having one charismatic leader calling all the shots, they have this unique system of elected councils.
Interesting.
Yeah, you've got local and national spiritual assemblies, and then at the global level, there's the Universal House of Justice.
So no single person at the top. That's a pretty big shift from how we usually think about leadership.
Exactly. The idea is to prevent power from getting concentrated in the hands of any one individual. And these councils, they make decisions through consultation and consensus. They try to represent the voices and needs of the whole community.
So consultation and consensus, those are key concepts here. What do those processes actually look like in action?
So consultation in the Baha'i context, it's more than just getting people's opinions. It's this deep, respectful exchange where everyone really tries to understand each other's viewpoints.
Okay.
The goal isn't to win an argument or force your own will. It's to find solutions that truly benefit everyone involved.
So it's not about compromise, where everyone just gives up a little bit?
No, it's more about finding a win-win.
Solutions that actually work for everybody.
Exactly. It's a much more collaborative approach than you see in a lot of political systems today.
Makes you wonder if this could be a way to bridge some of the divides we're seeing in the world. Could it work in the real world?
Well, within the Baha'i community itself, it's a core principle. You see it at every level, from local communities to the international institutions. But it's interesting to see that this emphasis on dialogue and understanding, it's starting to gain traction in other areas too, like conflict resolution and community development.
I can see how that ties in with the whole leadership as service idea. It's about distributing power and making decisions collaboratively, always, with the well-being of the whole community in mind.
You got it. And that commitment to service goes hand in hand with a strong emphasis on justice.
Okay.
In the Baha'i view, a just society puts the well-being of all its members first, especially the most vulnerable.
So justice is not just some abstract concept, it's a fundamental principle.
Absolutely. It should guide how society is structured and how it's governed.
What are some of the key elements of justice in this framework, then?
Well, transparency, honesty, and accountability are crucial. Corruption is seen as a betrayal of trust, a sign of moral decay.
I think that resonates with a lot of people's frustrations with politics today. You know, all the scandals, the lack of accountability.
Yeah, there's definitely a disconnect between the ideals of leadership and the reality. And the Baha'i vision really challenges us to re-examine those ideals and build systems that are truly rooted in justice service and the well-being of everyone.
So we've talked about leadership as service, the role of institutions, the importance of consultation, and the centrality of justice. It seems like all these pieces are interconnected.
Yeah, they all fit together.
To form this vision of how society can be governed in a way that benefits everyone.
Exactly. It's like weaving a tapestry. Each thread contributes to a larger picture, one that reflects the inherent dignity and worth of every individual.
It's definitely a compelling vision. I'm really interested to dive deeper into how it all works, but I also want to understand how this fits into the bigger picture of history and where it might be leading us. The Baha'i Faith has some pretty unique perspectives on the evolution of civilization, right?
They do. Baha'u'llah,
Ah.
the prophet founder of the Baha'i Faith, talked about humanity going through these stages of development, like how a child grows into adulthood.
Okay, I'm really curious to hear more about that. So where do we fit in this evolutionary process, and what does it mean for the future of leadership and governance?
Great question. Let's explore those ideas together.
Okay, so you were saying Baha'u'llah talked about humanity going through these stages of development.
Yeah, he described it as this process of collective maturation. Like we're moving from a stage of, division, conflict, power struggles towards a more unified, cooperative era.
Interesting. So where are we now in this journey? What are some of the signs that this transition is actually happening?
Well, Baha'u'llah actually predicted the decline of those old systems based on kingship and authoritarian rule.
Okay.
He saw them as kind of remnants of an earlier stage of human development.
Right, like we've outgrown them.
Exactly. He envisioned humanity moving towards a model of governance that reflects our growing capacity for cooperation, justice, and collective responsibility.
So are we seeing any evidence of that shift happening in the world today?
I think so. Just look at the growing global movements for things like social justice, environmental sustainability, human rights.
Right.
These could be seen as signs that we're becoming more aware of our interconnectedness and wanting systems that work for everyone, not just a select few.
It's like we're starting to see the limitations of our current systems and imagining something better. So if we're moving away from these traditional power structures, how do we choose leaders then?
Well, the Baha'i teachings advocate for a merit-based approach.
Okay.
It's not about who can win the most votes or who has the most money or influence.
Right, it's about something more than that.
Exactly. It's about recognizing and elevating those individuals who have the qualities needed to guide and serve a community effectively and justly.
So how would that work in practice?
Imagine a system where leaders are chosen not for their popularity or wealth, but for their honesty, their wisdom, their dedication to the common good.
That sounds pretty different from how most political systems work, but it also sounds really appealing.
The Baha'i system is designed to be free from all the campaigning and political maneuvering. We're used to...
No attack ads.
Nope. Instead, people are elected to serve on these councils based on their demonstrated qualities.
So it's about looking at their track record. Have they actually shown themselves to be trustworthy, selfless, capable of making decisions that benefit everyone?
Exactly.
That's such a different way of thinking about leadership selection. But wouldn't a system like that be open to manipulation? What's to stop people with ulterior motives from taking advantage?
Well, no system is perfect, but the emphasis on consultation and collective decision-making acts as a safeguard.
Okay.
Even on these councils, no single person has absolute power. Decisions are made through deliberation and consensus. It helps prevent anyone from imposing their will on others.
So it's about building in those checks and balances.
Yeah, distributing authority, making sure there's accountability at every level.
It's all starting to come together now. I see how all these elements fit together. Leadership as service consultation, justice, merit-based selection. It creates a really different kind of governing structure.
And they don't stop there.
Right, there's more.
The Baha'i teachings also envision a system of world governance.
Wow, that's a pretty bold idea, especially considering the state of the world today.
It is, but it stems from a deep belief in the oneness of humankind.
Okay.
Baha'u'llah called for the establishment of a world federation, a system where nations can work together to address global challenges while still respecting their diversity.
So it's not about creating one giant world government.
No, it's more about creating a framework for global cooperation and collective action.
Right, because the problems we're facing like climate change, poverty, conflict, they don't stop at national borders.
Exactly.
Makes you wonder if our current systems are even equipped to handle these global issues.
It's a valid question.
So what would this World Federation actually look like? How would it work?
Well, the details are still evolving, but the core principle is to have a global system that ensures peace, security, and justice for everyone.
It's a fascinating vision, but also a challenging one. What steps do we need to take to get there?
It requires a pretty fundamental shift in our thinking, moving away from self-interest and towards a recognition of our shared humanity and interconnectedness.
So it's about more than just changing laws and structures.
It's about changing hearts and minds.
It starts with recognizing that we're all part of one human family.
Exactly. We need to understand that our well-being is connected to the well-being of the whole planet.
It seems like a monumental task, but also an inspiring one. What role does individual action play in this?
Well, each of us has a part to play in building a more just and peaceful world. It starts with cultivating those qualities we've been discussing.
Like humility, honesty, compassion.
Exactly. And a willingness to serve others.
So it's not about waiting for some big political solution. It's about embodying these principles in our own lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As we do that, we contribute to creating a culture that values justice, cooperation, and the well-being of all.
It's empowering to know that we can each make a difference.
And as we embody these principles in our own lives, we start to create a culture that values these things. That's how real change happens from the inside out.
That brings us to another key element of the Baha'i vision, the importance of spiritual qualities in leadership. What do they mean by that?
It's about more than just having the right skills or knowledge. It goes deeper than that.
Okay.
The Baha'i writings emphasize virtues like humility, wisdom, honesty, a genuine desire to serve others.
So it's not just about being competent, it's about having a strong moral compass.
Exactly. True
Yeah.
leadership requires a deep connection to one's inner self, a commitment to ethical conduct, and a genuine desire to uplift and serve others.
I can see how those qualities would be crucial in a leader. Building trust, inspiring collaboration, guiding a community towards its goals. But aren't those qualities kind of rare in the world of politics?
They can be. But the Baha'i teachings believe that these kinds of leaders are possible. They point to examples throughout history of individuals who have led with integrity, wisdom, and compassion, even in the face of incredible challenges.
Yeah, it gives you hope that a better world is possible. That even in the midst of all the conflict and struggle, there have always been people who embody these higher principles of leadership. But how do we cultivate those qualities, not just in exceptional individuals, but more broadly? Can we really expect these virtues to flourish in a world that often seems to reward self-interest?
Just a good question. And the Baha'i teachings recognize that that does require a shift in our values and priorities. It's not about everyone becoming a saint overnight,
Right.
but it's about recognizing that these qualities, humility, integrity, service, they're essential for the well-being of humanity in the long run.
So we need to create a culture that values those things, both
Yeah.
in our leaders and in ourselves.
Exactly. It starts with understanding that real progress isn't just about material things or technology. It's about moral and spiritual development, too.
Yeah. And how do we encourage that kind of development, both individually and collectively?
Education is a big part of it, not just learning facts and figures, but developing character, ethical reasoning, a sense of responsibility for others. The Baha'i teachings really stress the importance of an education that nourishes both the mind and the spirit.
So it's about creating learning environments that do more than just prepare people for jobs. They also help people develop empathy, compassion, the ability to make moral decisions.
Exactly. It's about fostering a sense of purpose that goes beyond individual success and recognizing that we're all connected as part of one human family.
This deep dive has really made me think differently about what it means to be a leader. It's not just about having power. It's about embodying those qualities of service, integrity, and compassion in everything you do.
That's a really important point. Leadership isn't limited to a special few. It's a potential that exists within every single one of us. We can all be leaders in our families, our communities, and in the choices we make every day.
It's empowering to think that we all have a role to play in creating a better future. But it also feels kind of daunting, you know? When you look at all the challenges facing humanity, where do we even start?
The Baha'i teachings say start with yourself. Cultivate those qualities we've been talking about. Honesty, kindness, generosity, a willingness to serve others. Those are the building blocks of a more just and compassionate world.
So don't wait for someone else to fix things.
Right. Take action yourself. Embody these principles in your own life.
Lead by example.
Exactly. As we each strive to live in accordance with these principles, we contribute to a culture that values unity, justice, the well-being of all. That's how real lasting change happens, from the inside out, one heart at a time.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. We've just scratched the surface of this vision, but it's been so insightful.
There's definitely a lot more to explore, but I hope this has given you a taste of the potential of the Baha'i framework for leadership and governance.
It has for me. And it leaves me feeling hopeful, knowing that people all over the world are working towards a better future, guided by these principles of unity, justice, and service.
And to our listeners, we encourage you to think about how these principles resonate with your own values. Where do you see them at work in the world around you? And how can you bring them to life, in your own community?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring these ideas and keep striving to make a positive difference in the world.